Come on, only one or two members of the nation. Bronson Thomas.
My name's Bronson. I'm from Lexington. I'm majoring in business management, and I'm not really sure what I want to do yet.
B.
That's me. My name is Beatrice. I'm from Korea, and counting major. I'm not sure what I want to do yet.
All right. Max.
Hi, my name is Max, and I'm from Lexington, and I'm not sure what I want to do when I graduate quite yet, but something in the sporting industry.
Okay.
And my major is general business.
General business. Okay. Now, I'm going to do my traditional spiel about having a major in general business. There's nothing wrong with it per se. But when you go out, look for a job, 30 years ago, it wouldn't have mattered. You had a college degree, that's all they looked. They didn't even care if you were an English major. They looked for people that they could train. But now, on day one, they're looking for people who could contribute. That means you need to go to them saying, this is what I can do for you. If you're coming out of Harvard with a general business degree, nobody cares. Okay? Better or not, whether justified or not, Harvard is a name. Coming out of Harvard is basically your ticket to a job. When you come out of EKU or NKU or WKU, doesn't matter, with a general business degree, that's not going to help you. What's the difference between Northern Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky? Just going to tell me. One letter, E versus N, that's it. Okay? So I got my finance PhD from UK. I know that their finance program sucks. At least 20 years ago it did. You have a finance major from here versus UK. Every day they're going to pick the UK. Whether or not he or she is better than the other. Why? Because they have a name against, basketball and that sort of stuff. So you need to do stuff that's going to distinguish you from other places. This could be double majors, this could be specializations. You're going to pick those. It's up to you. I mean, I talked to a lot of my finance majors to do a double major with either RMI or accounting. If they're more into financial planning kind of stuff or banking, RMI probably is a better choice. Or if they're more into managerial kind of stuff, double with accounting may not be a bad idea. What happens, historically we know all the best jobs in finance go to double majors, period. And two reasons. A, typically better students tend to pick double majors. That's kind of a selective bias. And two, as an employer, when I have those resumes, I'm looking for reasons to reduce 100 applications to 20. And I look at it, okay, degree in financial planning, gone. General business, gone. Because I can't do 100 interviews. It's just not possible. So you gotta give them reasons not to go to the trash pile. That doesn't mean you're bad. It's just you need to be able to communicate that you're better than those others. And in economics, there are a lot of things economists agree on, but one of the things they agree on is for a signal to be credible, it needs to cost you something. Because you know a lot more about yourself than the employee that you're trying to communicate with. If you sit in front of them, you can communicate. But just through an application, through a resume, kind of things you can communicate are limited. Some of that you can get around used by not doing a traditional resume. It says, here's my education, here's my GPA, and here are my hobbies. They don't give a damn about your hobbies. if you speak 5 languages, obviously that helps. But you gotta be able to communicate with them that you actually chose to invest in yourself. That's it. Cost the signal. I chose to do double major. They may or may not realize that it adds at most a semester. It's creative scheduling, probably sometimes not even that. But it shows that instead of taking 15 hours every semester, you took 18, maybe 21. It costs you something, not necessarily monetarily, but in terms of time. So you gotta show employees reasons to hire you. Other than that, why would they care? They don't know Joe from Adam. I mean, you're just a name over there. Or if you put up a picture. There are built-in inherent biases anyway. They may not even be inherently racist. There are research, for example, this was back in early 2000s. They did an experiment. They created a resume. It's identical resume. On one of the resumes, the name was Kyle, and the other resume, the name was Jamal. Okay? No pictures. They just send these resumes to all these applications, and callback rates are about half if you're Jamal compared to Kyle. Same thing could be because you're from Kentucky. Right? What's the reputation of Kentucky? They're hillbillies. Yeah, some of it is well deserved. Some of it is not, but it's a stereotype that's out there. Whether or not you like it doesn't change the fact that it's out there. So you gotta give reasons to these people that you're better than what your stereotype tells you. That means you pick your majors or double majors or minors with that thought in mind. Don't sit and say, okay, I'll figure out something. What you're gonna figure out for the next 2 years after you graduate, you're gonna be working at McDonald's. Maybe as a manager or an assistant manager. Why? Because you didn't plan. You didn't think about doing internships. In the old days, there were management training programs. Those budgets are gone. Now, the internship programs are cheap way of them trying you out. It's a tryout, just like in NFL. You show up for those workouts. If they like you, you have a chance in the draft. It's not just about your high school films. I mean, if you had lottery pick, that's a different issue. But if you're thinking that you could be drafted in the 3rd round, nobody's gonna hire you based on just your high school films. You gotta show them stuff. Same idea. I mean, you guys are not gonna be 1st round picks. That much we know. But there's nothing wrong being a 3rd round pick. We play in the same league, right? But your transcripts and your resume is your high school films. Just give them reasons outside of that. So pick those carefully. Do internships. That's where your tryout is. Show them that you can actually solve problems. Again, independent of your major, make sure that you have some proficiency in Excel. If you're gonna work in any business, doesn't mean you have to be a wizard with it, but you gotta be able to take simple problems, organize them in Excel, and solve them. When I first started here back in 2005, in the first semester I taught, I told students that if they were medium to great in Excel, they would be in the top 95% of their workforce. Of course, none of them took it serious. One of the classes I taught was a senior class. Those guys graduated. About a year later, one of those guys came to speak in one of the student organizations, Financial Management Association. I mean, it happened that I was the mentor of the association, but I didn't even know that he was coming. The kids figured out who was coming, I just showed up. And this kid came, and unbeknownst to me, he says, well, in my senior year, Esther came here and said, this is what it is. Oh, I thought that was bullshit. And 1 year into work life, he realized I wasn't exaggerating enough. He was working for those days Chase Manhattan, which merged with JP Morgan later. Now it's Chase JP Morgan. He did a simple spreadsheet based on some of the stuff I taught him, and turned out it was so important for the bank, they started using that spreadsheet in all branches of Chase throughout the United States. It was a very simple thing. It took them maybe 2 days to do it. That was it. Guess what happened in 2008? Big financial crisis. When there is a very big financial crisis like that, what happens to banks? They fire a lot of people. Guess who didn't get fired? This guy. Why? Because he made himself, essentially, you're not a commodity anymore. Because if you're a guy who doesn't know much about Excel, if I fire you, let's say you're 5 years into the job, you probably make a lot more than an entry-level guy. I fire you and I fire him at the entry level. I just make money. And you guys are both pretty much the same. You know, what's the difference between one strawberry and another strawberry? So don't be a strawberry, be mango. I don't know. Be something that is different from commodity. That means you're gonna build up skills. You're gonna build up, and when you go to interview, you tell them, okay, here's what I can do for you. And if you have that kind of stuff, you also go to interview with a lot of confidence. When I was in industry, there was not a single job interview that I had not gone knowing that I'm going to get it if I want. Why? Because when I enter into a room, any room, doesn't matter. There's no doubt in anybody's mind who owns that room. I tend to back that stuff up, but even if you can't back it up fully, what's important is what the other guy does. You go into a room, you gotta make it like you are interviewing with them. You're making the decision. Of course, you know, being cocky is one thing, being able to back it up is another thing. If you can't back it up, you're just an arrogant SOB. But if you can back it up, you know, you're the king. You know, they're gonna hire the king instead of the arrogant SOB. Arrogance is something useful, but it's gotta be backed up and it needs to be controlled.